Welcome back, friends, channel members and flight sim enthusiasts, to another video with the Inibuilds A310-300. This is the final and third episode of the three-part video series where we looked at the initial preparation of the aircraft, pushback, taxi, takeoff and climb, and this will be descent, arrival and approach. We are currently cruising at 39,000 feet. We are roughly 170 miles away from our top of descent, and I'll go over some things that we need to set up before we reach top of descent, and I'll bring you guys back when we are ready to descend. Let's hop into the cockpit and talk about what we need to do. First thing I'd like to do is to go to the flight management computer, pull up the progress page and descent forecast. Here you can enter the forecast from your operational flight plan. I'm going to use Simbri for this, and I will plug in some altitudes which I think will make sense. First one will be flight level 350. And the winds at that flight level is 162 at 28 knots, 162.028. This is the format you need to use: flight level, magnitude, the direction of the wind, and the magnitude or speed of the wind. So that's the first one. Second one, I will use flight level 200. And the winds are 134 at 2 knots. This is done in order to have a better descent calculation. And the last one will be flight level 100, and the winds are 09 or 8 at 7 knots. And the final one is the wind at our destination airport, and according to current METAR, which we can also get from ACARS over here on this side, if we go to ADIS and request Echo November Golf Mike and send it, we should see the ADIS information. 360 at 5 knots is what it is showing. So 360 at 05. This last one has a slight difference because you don't enter the flight level. It's the destination airport, you just enter the wind information. So that's the descent forecast completed. Next thing we need to do is go to takeoff approach page and configure our approach. So we will be landing with flaps 30-40, flap slats. You also have the option to do 20-20. We'll discuss more about this. MDA is our decision height, and for the approach we are going to fly today, it is going to be, let me pull the chart real quick, 756. So we will enter that, and then that will give us the speeds, flap F speed, S speed. And when the aircraft starts slowing down, it will not go below S speed, I believe. And the speed window will open when we are at a certain altitude or certain speed, and you will see that when we are flying the approach. So that's the decision height. We also need to set it up here on our altimeter, 756. We do this in 2 places because the altimeter does not communicate with the flight management computer. So that's roughly, I think, 356. That is now all set. This switch over here, if you decide to land with flaps 20-20, you need to tell the aircraft your intentions. Otherwise the ground proximity warning system will be screaming at you if you are trying to land with flaps 20-20 and you have 30-40 selected here. So keep that in mind if you are trying to land with this configuration, which is 20-20. So that's done. Descent forecast is done. We have received the METAR information for our destination airport, and we are 242 miles away from our destination, and we should see the top of descent on our ND. If I increase the range, there it is. That arrow is top of descent. Let me get closer. This one over here, and we have a couple of restrictions on our flight plan that the aircraft will follow. If I go down, you'll see those restrictions. What happened here? I swear I was reading the... interesting. We should see the altitude restrictions here. There we go. Okay. On the next page, we'll see those. We have a 12,000, we have a 11,000, and we have 250 speed restriction. This is 12,000 or more or above. And we have a 5,000, we have a 4,000, and so on. And our final altitude, which is our altitude to capture the glide slope, is 3,500. All right. And anything else? No, we don't have anything else to worry about here. Well, while we get closer, when we get closer to the top of descent, we will set our altimeter, and then it will arm the descent. And when we get to top of descent, the aircraft should start descending automatically. How you do that? I'm going to show it very quickly. First, we need to make sure we have thousands selected. We'll go down to 3,500. Now we need to switch to hundreds, and then we need to pull the knob outside. Oops, wrong button. This should do it, and then we will see profile descent armed in blue, and when we reach top of descent, the aircraft will start descending. So that's how you do it. I'm going to go back to 39,000 feet and leave it there for now. Alright. It is still looks like arming the descent. Let's click profile, and it should... Well, it's not getting it. Anyway, maybe that's a bug, I'm not sure. But the descent looks like is still armed. But you know, you have seen the deal. That's what we will do. Now what we are doing is we are waiting for the top of descent. Auto brakes, if we need to speak about those, we will use low. And you have only two settings in A310, low or medium. And low should do. Medium, you will really do medium if you have a short runway. And in our case, we have enough runway length for us to land safely. So we will go with medium air brakes. ECAM memo says center tank feeding. If we take a look at the fuel display, we don't have any fuel in the inner tanks, and the center tank is cross feeding to those tanks to keep the engines running until it's empty, and then it will go to the outer wing tanks and start consuming the fuel we have in those tanks. Seatbelt signs, we haven't turned them on yet. We will turn them on when we are getting close to 10,000. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is the TCAS range. So there's a little hidden or not quite visible range button here. I haven't verified if the TCAS system is actually displaying the traffic, but we will see about that hopefully when we get closer. You only have two ranges, 6 miles, and then another press will give you 12 miles range on the TCAS system. And we'll see if we can spot any aircraft. Right now, while we are flying, the only thing that's left for us is to go over the ECAM pages to make sure everything is alright. Status page, normal, and then engines running fine, everything seems okay. Hydraulics, it's looking okay too. Everything is green. We have hydraulic pressure and it's in the expected range. AC electrical system is looking okay. Generators are generating at 400 Hz, 114 volts. DC system is looking good. Batteries are looking normal. Bleed system is working. We are reading 45 psi on both engines. Air conditioning, we are reading 23 degrees in the cabin, which is fine. Cabin pressure is looking okay. Cabin altitude is 7730. We have 8.2 delta P. So our pressurization system is working. Fuel, we are seeing what we saw on the fuel display, 132, and you can cross-check that with here. APU is off. Flight controls, we don't do anything here. Doors, we know they are closed. And then the wheels are looking okay with the brake temperature showing 25 degrees Celsius for all the wheels. So that's all we need to do to prepare the aircraft for descent. Nothing else here, really. I'm thinking if I forgot anything, but no, we have not. So all left for us to do is to wait until we reach top of descent. Alright, I will cut the video here and we'll bring you guys back when we are getting close to top of descent. See you in a little bit. Welcome back, friends. We are getting very close to our top of descent, roughly 30 miles to go, and we will jump into the cockpit and do the final steps of our preparation. If I pull the charts, you'll see the restrictions there. After it loads the flight, hopefully. Let's bring up our star. What happened? Okay, there's our star, and as you see, we have a 250 knot restriction at our initial waypoint of our star, and then 12,000 or above, 11,000 absolute, and then 220 knots, staying at 11,000 until Golf Mike 407, and then 5,000 above, and then our final into the runway. So that's the star. When it comes to approach, we need to tune the localizer frequency. That is done over here in the middle console. Up here you'll see ILS, and our frequency is 110.3. So we will set that, and then we will also set the final approach course, which is 012, and that is all we need to do. MDA is here, 765. We already set that in our FMC or flight management computer, as well as on our altimeter, so that is already done. And we are waiting for the aircraft to reach top of descent and start descending. What I did is I brought the ultimate altitude back to 3,500 and armed the descent again, and hopefully I haven't screwed anything when trying to show you previously. Obviously I'm recording this episode on a different day, so the weather has changed a little bit, and our arrival is still runway 01 left into Oslo. Just waiting here, and I'd like to start the descent and show you guys the VNAV or profile descent climb in this aircraft is not as precise as you have in an Airbus A320. It tries to stay on profile as much as it possibly can with its all ability, but it requires more attention from the pilot, and you need to take some actions when you start deviating from the profile. We will discuss those very shortly when we start our descent, and you might see the aircraft slowing or accelerating based on our descent profile. That green dot, I believe it is going to decelerate first and then start the descent. And these are normal, and it is also calculated when it's calculating the profile, so the aircraft knows that it needs to slow before it can descend, or it needs to accelerate before it can descend. Which one is the calculated descent profile? Almost there. You will see now descent will be, it is flashing now, descent will be executed or will become active, and it will start descending. All right, hopefully very shortly. We see the profile or vertical deviation indicator displayed on our ND when we start the descent, and as you see, the aircraft started descending, and it is going to try to slow down by cutting the throttles. This is the vertical deviation indicator. If we go to the progress page, we will also see the vertical deviation. So we are deviating because the aircraft is not able to descend as fast as it likes. So, and on the vertical deviation, you'll see a purple arrow pointing down, which means we are above the profile. To help the aircraft descend, we need to extend the speed brakes very slowly, very gently, to help the aircraft slow down and descend to catch up to the profile. When extending speed brakes, this aircraft does not have a control of how fast the speed brakes are deployed, so you need to be gentle when you are bringing them out or bringing them in. So we should now see the vertical deviation closing in. It is now. And if we take a look at the ND, we'll see the diamond coming into the middle. When it gets into the middle, we can bring the speed brakes in and follow the deviation to see if we need to extend them again. So there we are. We are bringing the speed brakes slowly in now using my controller. And the aircraft will try to maintain the profile as much as it possibly can. So far so good. We are at profile, I would say. And it started to creep down again, as you see, which means we are speeding up when trying to maintain the profile. So we'll bring the speed brakes out slightly and maybe find a sweet spot where we can keep them there to help the aircraft descend. And it needs to slow down to 250 knots as well. So hopefully it will be able to get that speed restriction and respect it. We are at 60-mile range. We can go down to 30-mile range to give ourselves a better look. And that's what we need to do. So we are now dropping below the profile. So let's bring the speed brakes in. And this is what you do when you are descending. Continuously monitor the vertical deviation either from here or from your ND, and try to apply speed brakes to keep the aircraft on profile. The rest the aircraft will do, it will maintain it will respect the speed and altitude restrictions, and it will tell you if it needs help. If you keep the speed brakes out too long, you'll see a message on your flight management computer saying less drag, and that means you need to bring them in. If it says more drag, that means you need to bring them out, but I have not seen that message yet, even I have deviated from the profile a lot in my test flights. So my phone is going crazy over here. Sorry about those weird sounds, but you got the idea. This is what we need to do. I don't have to keep you guys here for long, so I will bring you guys when we are getting close to 10,000. See you in a little bit. Right, we are coming up to our first restriction, that is 12,000 and above at 250 knots. What I did so far is kept the speed brakes out, in, to control the speed and try to stay on profile as much as I can. And from here on, we will continue, we will meet that restriction, 12,000 or above, and then the next one is 11,000, so we will keep descending. I'm gonna keep the speed brakes out for now, and if we see the M1 increasing, that is a good indication to bring the speed brakes in, and we should see a message on the ECAM. We will set the local QNH now it is 1018 as far as I read from the SimBrief profile flight plan. We will hit the B key, so it was 1017, slight difference there, but it is okay. And now the aircraft should keep descending towards 11,000 and we'll do the approach checklist. Signs, we'll turn on the passenger signs. Signs are set. Briefing is confirmed, ECAM status is checked, no messages. Altimeters are set, minimums are set on the altimeter and the flight management computer. Ignition, we will select continuous relight momentarily. Landing elevation is set. So we are not quite there yet. We will not turn on the landing lights because we have a hard restriction of 11,000 in front of us. So we will try to meet that first and then we will worry about the landing lights. That's the 11,000 restriction. We can go to 50-mile range to see a little bit better. And the aircraft is trying to slow down to 220 knots, so we can help it with the speed brakes again. Full speed brakes right now, and we are trying to not deviate from the profile too much. We are approaching 11,000. Looks like we are going to slightly reach that restriction, but it is fine. We are very close, so it shouldn't be a problem. The aircraft is trying to slow down to 220 knots. There we go. We can now bring the speed brakes in. And the aircraft should accelerate to 220. It slowed down too much because we kept the speed brakes out. And at this point, because we have a hard restriction, it is okay to see a negative vertical deviation. It will sort itself out when we are closer to the airport and when we clear the hard restriction to descend down at Golf Mike 407. That's the last waypoint for the speed altitude restriction, and we will talk about what we need to do for the rest of the flight to approach into runway 01 left at Oslo. I'm waiting to descend below 10,000 to turn on the landing lights, and then we will do the landing checklist when we get closer and ready to capture the localizer. What will happen after this point is we will fly along and clear the restriction and then start descending again. If you check the FMA, it says profile descent in blue. That means the aircraft is holding the altitude and descent is armed once more, and it should start descending when we clear that restriction. Alright, just a little bit more. This part might get a little bit boring, but it is okay. Final landing preparations, we will arm the speed brakes. And when we are slowing down to 200 knots at Ogress, we will go slats 15. That should command the aircraft to start slowing down, and when we get closer to the localizer, we should see the speed window opening for us, and then we can set the approach speed. Speaking of which, our approach speed is 134. We can also do a wind correction based on the wind direction. Right now we have a slight tailwind, so we don't have to make a correction. But when we turn around, that wind will be coming as a headwind, and we will do maybe 4 or 5 knots wind correction to maintain the speed and land the aircraft safely. Last waypoint before we start descending again. Let's synchronize the heading bug one more time. And we will be turning right and synchronizing the heading back one more time when we reach to the next waypoint. 5 miles to go, and then we should see the aircraft descending again. and we will be passing below 10,000 at that point. Not too much to go. Our target altitude is 3,500 as we have seen before, and hopefully we will get back on the vertical profile and use the speed brakes as needed to slow the aircraft and maintain the profile. That's all we need to do for a safe landing. There it is. We should see the aircraft descending again. Profile descent is now active and the aircraft is descending. We'll check the vertical deviation. It's sorting itself out as you see, which is fine, and we are coming down to 10,000. Momentarily we will turn on the landing lights. There's traffic, so that means the TCAS system is working. It has a limited range, as we have seen, 12 miles, but we see traffic on our TCAS, which confirms that it is working. Let's synchronize the heading one more time. There it is. That's heading bug synchronized. We have the ILS frequency set, final approach course is set, and we are waiting for the aircraft to slow down to 200 knots. That is going to happen after this waypoint, and that is our final turn into the runway. We see the airport, so we are very close. We passed below 10,000. Let's turn on the landing lights and we'll do the landing checklist. By the way, ignition goes to continuous relight again. Landing gear, oh no, not yet. We will wait a little bit more until we drop the landing gear and then we'll do the landing checklist. First we need to do the flow, and we are not quite there yet. We are deviating a little bit, so let's pull the speed brakes out. Help the aircraft get back on profile. I took my eyes from the ND for a couple seconds and then we deviated from our vertical profile. Landing system, we will not turn that on just yet. Unlike Airbus A320, you need to wait a little bit longer and at least get closer to the localizer or to the final turn, and then you will switch to landing system, which will display the ILS and localizer guides on the primary flight display. So we are back on profile. Let's bring the speed brakes in. Our next altitude is 5,000 or above, and then we have a 4,000, and then 3,500 is our final approach altitude. We should see the aircraft slowing down, passing next waypoint, and at that point we'll select our slats and start extending flaps to get ready for landing. After 15:15 we will wait until we drop the landing gear, and then we can select the next level of flaps and then do the final flaps. There are two aircraft on the TCAS display now. They are showing blue, so it is fine. We see the ILS diamond, so let's turn on the landing system for the localizer as well and wait a little bit more to arm the land mode after passing that waypoint and when the aircraft starts slowing down. Arming the land mode too early causes the glide slope to miss, as you need to approach the glide slope from below, which means the diamond needs to be above the center line of the PFD. And doing this too early, I'm not sure if this is a bug, hopefully it is and they will get it fixed. You have to wait a little bit longer before you arm the land mode, otherwise you will miss the glide slope and have to take control and manually land the aircraft if that happens, or do a go around. So those are the things. We are still deviating, so speed brakes out again. To get back on profile. We are getting back on profile slowly, so when we are at the profile I will bring the speed brakes in one more time. And this is constantly playing with the speed brakes to maintain the profile, as I said before, since we started descending. Old system, I think it's understandable that it requires a lot of attention from the pilot to maintain the profile. Again, it's creeping down, so I'm gonna put the speed brakes out one more time and maybe keep them there because we need to start slowing down to 200 knots. Alright, light slope diamond is above us. After this turn we should capture the localizer. I'm gonna wait until the aircraft starts slowing down and then arm the land mode. We have 4 miles to go to the next waypoint and slow the aircraft down. And at that point we will go slats. Gonna go and do the slats regardless. Okay, the aircraft is slowing down. We'll go slats 15. And we should see the aircraft slowing down. Speed window is now open because we opened the slats and the aircraft is slowing down. Let's go ahead and arm the land mode. Light slope localizer in blue. Not sure why we are getting P descent. Maybe because we are at the not at the profile altitude. I'm not sure what's gonna happen now. Yep, we lost the glide slope, so we will arm it again. That's what I was saying. If you are too early, localizer is captured. We'll go second notch of flaps. Landing gear is coming down. We'll turn the runway turn off lights and nose light to taxi, and we'll do the approach or landing checklist. Landing gear is down, auto brake we will set minimum order. Yep, that is now set. Anti-skid is checked, slats flaps we will land 30-40, spoilers we will arm now. Spoilers are armed, we'll go next level of flaps and wait for the glide slope capture. Alright, glide slope diamond is coming down, everything is looking okay, and hopefully this will be a good landing. A little bit cloud coverage, we will see if we can we'll see if we can see the runway. I am slightly seeing it right there. So we have crosswind, the aircraft is trying to maintain flight path by flying slightly to the right. So that crosswind is going to be a little bit challenging if the glide slope captured. So if the wind doesn't slow down when we get down. So now we can set the missed approach altitude of 5,000 feet and set our approach speed of 134. .33, that's fine. And there we have it. So now we are on profile, descending down and waiting for the minimums. 1018, so the QNH was correct. I pressed the B key. At about 1,000 feet we will disconnect the autopilot, take control and land the aircraft. So far so good, everything is looking okay, except the crosswind is a little bit worrying, but we'll see what it is going to do to us when we are trying to land. As I said, be careful with the land mode. If you don't see it in blue, glide slope in blue, you will most likely miss it, so press it again to turn it off and then turn it on again to capture the glide slope if that happens to you. That seems like a bug. I hope they will fix it with an update. There are some other things. By the way, I need to set the heading back to the final approach course of 012. So now we are good to go. 2000. Watching for traffic as well. Still clouds, so hopefully we will see the runway a little after. 1000 to go. If I see the runway visually, I will disconnect the autopilot. If I don't, I will wait until we get to the minimums and then make a decision. One thing I'm not sure is the decision height here. I'm not sure if we need to set this as well to get the minimums call. I'll try to test it next time. I don't want to risk it right now, and let you guys know in the comments of this video to see how it works. Runway is in sight now, 1500 feet. I'm not seeing the puppies yet. Okay, 2 white, 2 red. Puppies are looking good. And the wind calmed down and turned into a headwind, so it will help us land properly. Okay, still on profile, looking good and coming down nicely. Very nice. After touchdown, we will wait for the landing of nose gear to touch the runway, and then we will activate the reversers. Double check the speed brakes armed. Yep, they are now. Autopilot disconnected. Pull the nose up a little bit, get back on profile. We are too low now, so we should get back on profile now. Cut the throttles. Hold it there. Touchdown. Nose gear down. Reversers engaged. A little bit firm landing there. Nothing to worry about. Slowing down now. 80 knots. Reversers disengaged. Auto brake turned off. And we will bring the flaps in. Speed brakes disarmed, and we will take this high speed exit by manually braking. Alright, welcome to Oslo. We slowed down enough. We can turn the APU on now. It will take some time for the APU to start, but we are here, so we can go back to nav. We don't need the landing system anymore. And vacating runway, I will slow down a little bit to clean the aircraft out. Runway vacated almost. Landing lights are coming off. Strobe is going back to auto. Runway turn off lights are coming off, and we are good now. I'm not sure if the terminal is on this side of the airport. Let me see the chart real quick. Apparently it is not. Looks like we turned to the wrong side of the runway. I should have checked this before approach. The terminals are over there. What we can do is we can turn around and go there, which is fine. And sorry about that little mistake on my end. Or we can park here, but I'd like to finish this like a proper flight, so I'll turn around here and then go park at the terminal. We can also use the GSX to request a follow me car and get to the parking spot, but I am too lazy to do it right now, and I don't like to wait for the follow me car. Okay. Now, one thing I forgot is the transponder that goes back to standby, and then weather radar is turned off. And that is all we need to do as far as I know. We'll do the after landing checklist now. Slats flaps retracted, transponder is standby. weather radar off, spoilers disarmed, and APU is now started. So that's the after landing checklist. We are too slow. I'm gonna give a little bit of throttle to cross the runway and get to the other side. That's better. We don't need the constraints anymore, so we can turn it off. Decision height we don't need. We will set the altitude to 10,000, like getting ready to park the aircraft. Speed goes back to 100. Oh. A very bumpy taxiway here, and looks like we will take a right turn into the terminal. Alright, and heading back to 0. Take this turn to get on the side taxiway to turn into the terminal. When we park, we will do the shutdown, and this will be the end of 3-part video series with the A310-300. Very nice aircraft. It has some small issues here and there, like not capturing the glide slope or losing the land mode if you do it too early, but other than that, everything is working fine and it is quite fun to fly. So let me know in the comments, how do you like it, how is your experience with this aircraft, and I'd like to hear from you to learn your experience. I'm now looking for an empty parking spot. There is one right in front of us, right there. Do we have one to the side? I think there is one over there next to that KLM, so we can try to park there and maybe use that parking spot. I think this turn will take us there, so let's do that. APU should be on by now. Let's turn the APU lid on and we'll take this turn to park our aircraft. Alright, that sounds like that seems like a good spot to park. Empty. We'll see how I will do with the parking. I always miss, so I'm gonna try to do my best again to stop where I need to stop. That jetway doesn't look like it's in the correct spot, but well, we'll try to not to hit it. Yep, I think I need to stop here to avoid hitting the jetway. We can get a little bit closer. This is me cheating, by the way. I think I'm going to stop here. Parking brake is now set. And let's take a look. Alright, parking. APU bleed is on. Engines, we will turn them off. Here in a little bit, I'm gonna do a couple more checks. And yes, we are good to turn off the engines. Taxi light comes off. And we will shut down the engines now by moving the valve to shut off. GSX thinks it is going to help us to deboard the aircraft when we have less than 10% N2. We can turn off the beacon. That is now turned off. Strobe will come off now. And we will stay on the nav light until we cut the power to the aircraft. Alright, let's go and do the checklist. APU bleed is on, engines are off. Delta P is reading 0 right here. Lights and signs Nav lights on, fuel pumps we will turn them off, except the inner second tank that feeds the APU. And we will turn off the probe heat and window heat as well. And let's check. Window and probe heat off, parking brake and chocks are set. And now we will secure the aircraft. We will assume that we deboarded the aircraft now. So nav systems will come off. This goes back to that. Oxygen will come off now. Galley power will come off. ATS and yaw damper will come off. Ignition back to off. No smoking signs to off. Seatbelt signs to off. APU bleed to off. And we will shut down the APU and turn the last fuel pump. You need to wait until the APU is disconnected to shut down. But looks like it shut itself down now. Emergency exit lights disarmed and APU and battery off. Emergency exit lights are disarmed and we will turn off the batteries, and that will bring us back to a cold and dark state. Alright, welcome to Oslo. I hope you guys enjoyed this three-part video series about the A310. Fantastic aircraft. Very well, a job very well done by Inibuilds. If you enjoyed the content, please take a couple seconds to hit that like button. If you are not a channel subscriber, I appreciate your support if you can take a couple seconds to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications to get notified for my future videos. Thanks for being with me here today, and I will be seeing you in the next video.